In Revelation 2, verse 8, Jesus tells John to write to the angel of the church in Smyrna. He has words of encouragement for them, and he has nothing bad to say about them. He does not tell them to repent of anything. He just gives them some warnings about the future and promises for the future. These are the words, he writes, of him who is the first and the last, who died and came to life again. That's an important description of Jesus for this church, because he does not want them to be afraid of death. He wants to remind them that they also will live again. I know your afflictions and your poverty, he writes. The people were poor, and they had many difficulties in this life. And yet, he says, you are rich. You are spiritually rich. You have a lot going for you. You are rich in faith and faithfulness, and you have a lot of treasure in heaven. You will be rewarded. In verse 9, he writes, I know about the slander of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. There were apparently some tensions with the Jewish community in Smyrna. It is likely that the church started with Jewish people who believed in Jesus as the Messiah, but the local church, the local synagogue rejected them, and that could have important social consequences. In the first century, Jewish people were generally despised. The Greeks and Romans thought that the pagan gods were the source of their peace and wealth, and yet the Jews were insulting the source of the city's well-being. Nevertheless, they were tolerated because their religion was ancient, and about a century earlier, King Herod had obtained some religious freedoms for them. They were a religio licita, a legal religion, even though they refused to participate in the normal religious practices that were found throughout the social world. Christians were initially so much like the Jews that they could claim the same religious exemption. But as time went on, people could see that the Christians were a different group than the Jews. The Christians had many Gentiles among them, and they didn't keep all the Jewish religious practices. And the leaders of the synagogue said, oh no, they're not part of us. They do not fall under our religious exemption. They are a novel group bringing in strange ideas and refusing to participate in normal society. The Christian churches were socially isolated, kicked out of the trade guilds, and considered social deviants. The book of Hebrews describes what happened in many places. Hebrews 10:34. You suffered along with those in prison and joyfully accepted the confiscation of your property because you knew that you yourselves had better and lasting possessions. People could take their belongings, and no one would stand up to defend them. They were afflicted and poor, as defined by the values of the world around them. But Jesus says they are rich. Today, are we rich in the eyes of Jesus? Paul told Timothy, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share.